Okay, let's have a look at 741. Lee thinks what he knows about similar triangles can help. A. Review problem 722, which involved similar triangles. How are the scale factors related? Well, 722 was part of the review preview of lesson 712, and the scale factors there were 5/6 and 6/5. So we need to talk about the relationship between these two scale factors. Something I noticed right away is that my numerator here becomes my denominator here, and my denominator here becomes my numerator here. Take a second to see if you can remember what that word is. All right, if you are unsure, you can't remember the relationship between these two scale factors, and that word is reciprocal. So 5/6 and 6/5 are reciprocals. Okay, for part B, how can the relationship of scale factors between similar shapes help Lee find the missing scale factor in his diagram at right? That is, what could he multiply 100 by to solve for x? So if you notice in Lee's diagram, in our first triangle here, we have an x. And this arrow is showing that when we have x and we multiply by a scale factor of 2/5, we get 100 miles. So what we need to do is determine, well, if we are working from this triangle going back to the larger one, well, what can we multiply 100 by to find x? If you guessed reciprocal, you would be correct. So the reciprocal of 2/5 would be 5/2. And that is what we would multiply by to solve for x. 5/2. And C tells us to use the new scale factor to find x. And they want to know, does this answer agree with the one we found in part B of problem 740? Well, let's find out. So I would take my 100 miles and I would multiply by 5/2. If you are unsure how to multiply with fractions, what we could do, or what I would suggest, maybe to make it a little bit easier, is put that 100 over a 1. It doesn't change the number itself, it's just making it a little bit easier to multiply since we have something for our denominator. Remember, when we multiply with fractions, we multiply straight across. 100 times 5 would give me 500. And 1 times 2 would give me 2. So we have 500 halves. So to find a nicer number to work with, what I'm going to do is divide 500 by 2. Maybe you can do this in your head. If not, I will do the long division for you. 2 would go into 5 2 times. 2 times 2 gives me 4. When I subtract and bring down my 0, I have 10. 2 goes into 10 5 times. 5 times 2 gives me 10. Subtract, I need to bring down my last 0. And 2 goes into 0 0 times. 0 times 2 is 0. And that is that. So we get 250 miles for x. And yes, that is the same thing that we got for part B of problem 740. All right, and that is the end of problem 741.